Today we are going to review the new hire setup template for EasyVista. This template allows our customers to easily initiate and process new hire setup transactions as part of the normal onboarding process. Remember, new hire setup differs from the traditional onboarding use case in that it focuses solely on provisioning services to newly hired employees. In the new hire setup use case, it is presumed the actual HR onboarding has already occurred in an external HR system of record. EasyVista will identify these newly added employees and queue them for setup processing to ensure the employees have access to all the services and computing resources necessary for them to do their job. Let's see how it works. To begin, the user responsible for requesting the employee setup, usually the department manager or HR specialist in charge of the onboarding process, logs on to the self-service portal. Here we can see there are two available template options: New Hire Onboarding, for when the user information has not yet been collected and entered into the integrated HR system, and New Hire Setup. For this demonstration, we will assume the user has already been entered into the HR system of record, so we will continue by selecting the New Hire Setup. As we initiate our request, the first question we are asked is, which user do we wish to initiate setup for? By selecting the drop-down, we can see a list of all the users pending setup. In this case, the list is showing any employee who entered into the HR system within the last 3 months for whom no setup process has been initiated. Once a user has been set up, their name will disappear from this list. Also shown here are the hire date and the department for the user. This is important because the user's department will determine the services for which they are eligible. We select a user from the list here and click Next. This brings up the New Hire Setup screen, pre-populated with all the default selections for this user based on their role or department. It's important to note here, if we wish to use the default options, we need simply click OK on the bottom of the form to submit this request. This means we can initiate an onboarding process with a single mouse click. However, if we choose, we can also review and modify the default options within the parameters of what's allowable based on our standards for this role and/or department. What if, for instance, we wanted to provision a Mac device for this user rather than a Windows device? By clicking the Mac button, the default Mac for this user is selected. Likewise, if we wanted a laptop instead of a desktop, we could click the mobile option, and this would select the default Mac laptop for this user. But what happens if I don't want the default option? I'm also able to select the model I want from a list of allowable models, again, based on my role and/or department. By clicking the model field, I can review these options along with the associated costs for each. Now that we have a computer, let's review the other options available to me from the setup form. On the right, I can see the security badge configuration, which details the area my badge will have access to. Because the user I am setting up is in the IT department, you will notice there is an option to provide physical access to the data center. If we had selected a user from the sales department, the option to select would not be available. However, you can see that there would be a mandatory install of the corporate sales software on the list of software and accessories, which is not available to the IT user. This illustrates the ability to offer options and enforce standards related to the department or role. Let's scroll down and look at the additional. As you can see, the default for this role is to provide the user with a corporate mobile package. This can be changed to include other options such as a tablet or no option at all. Like with the computer selection, I also have the ability to define which model from the allowable standards I wish to have provisioned to this user. I can also provide an option to select additional features such as the corporate expense account, accessible workstation, parking, or more. Remember, this template is just an example, and there's no limit to what can be offered. Once you have your selections, you need simply click the OK button and your request is submitted. Another important difference between this template and previous ones offered is the styling for this questionnaire is embedded in the form itself. This means there are no external styling packs to install or configure. It also means that, unlike previous versions, the styles will be similar regardless of whether you are accessing the form from Service Apps or from Service Manager. insert and work with. Now let's take a look at the request created in Service Manager. Once the request is created in Service Manager, it begins the approval and fulfillment process. As you can see, all the selected options are clearly in the description of this request. And tasks to execute the request, from provisioning the badge to configuring the workspace, are all managed in the template process. The request also tracks all the equipment and the consumables associated with the request automatically to ease logistics processing. And on the logistics screen, summaries of all the provisionable items are displayed to assist in simple fulfillment of the requested options. Finally, the employee record is updated to indicate the request ID of the process that facilitated this setup user. As you can see, this new template offers a clean and easy way for our users to solve the new hire setup problem. Using this template, we can help our customers achieve optimal value from the EasyVista solution. Thank you for watching this video. Please contact me, Joseph Hurley, if you have any questions or would like to see a live demonstration.